Welcome to the step-by-step guide to public service loan forgiveness. In this lesson, I'll be going over the exact steps to help you apply and get started with public service loan forgiveness. So the first step is you actually have to get employment in the public sector in a qualifying employment position, whether that be a VA, whether that be a hospital, but somewhere that's going to qualify. And you also have to meet all those other requirements we talked about. So proper payment, proper income-based repayment plan, etc. But step one is to get a job. So once you get a job, after about 1 to 2 months of employment in that qualifying position, you are going to complete the employment certification for public service loan forgiveness form. And the link is here. You can copy this, or depending upon where you're watching this, you can click that link and it will take you to the PDF. You simply fill out the PDF and it's very simple to follow. It's very easy. Basically, you're filling out your name, your social, address, a couple different things, and then your HR representative will fill out the rest and you will submit that back to Fed Loan Servicing. So you fill that out though. Make sure that when you are, it's complete. You can't have anything missing. They are very strict and it must be legible. My HR representative, the first time I filled this out, he signed his name and he didn't. By it, you also have to put your phone number. So he put his phone number, but it was so illegible that they rejected my application and I had to have him fill out a whole nother application and resend it in. And that took several more weeks of processing. So make sure that this is filled out completely and is very neat and easy to read. Otherwise, it will get rejected. You are going to mail that to this following address here, the U.S. Department of Education, Fed Loan Servicing, P.O. Box 69184, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Fill out that address. Now, if you for some reason lucked out and you are already a member of Fed Loan Servicing, then you don't need to mail this. You can actually upload it to their server, to their dashboard. But that's if for some reason you already have loans serviced through them. But if you're using, say, Navient or Sally Mae, you're going to have to download that PDF and then fill it out and then mail it to this following address. I really want to add to this really quickly that this step is not required, but it is highly suggested. So in order to get forgiveness, you don't actually have to fill out any paperwork until the 120 payments, and then that's the final submitting paperwork. But this is where many people go wrong, not submitting this employment certification form annually, because it tracks your loans and it makes sure you are approved for everything and that you're in a qualifying employment, you're qualifying loans, qualifying payment program, everything. This certification form is really the only way that you will know if your loans are truly counting for public service loan forgiveness. So although this is not required, I highly, highly recommend you fill it out, not just once, but annually and every time you have a new employer. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, why did you say to wait 1 to 2 months versus filling out this employment form right away? And I learned this personally, so this is from personal experience, but the employment certification form backdates your qualifying payments. So only the months that you worked before and that you paid your loans before filling out the paperwork will be officially counted and approved. So say, for example, you've worked 2 months and you have two payments in, and then you fill out your paperwork. Once they've approved your paperwork and everything's gone through, you'll see a tracked payment. You'll see two tracked payments. Now, yes, you're still paying all those months after you're filling out the paperwork. Those will still count, but you won't get them officially tracked until you fill out your next employment certification form. And what you can do if you're freaking out and if you really want more peace of mind, you can submit this form as many times as you want to. So you could submit this form every 6 months if you wanted to, or every year, or every 2 years. This form is not a requirement for public service loan forgiveness until the very end, until the 120 payments. So if you want more peace of mind, you can apply more or you could apply less. Once again, all your payments will still qualify as long as you have all the requirements we've been talking about. Even if you haven't filed that certification paperwork, they're just not yet officially counted because they're backdated. How will you know if your paperwork has been received? Because really, the employment certification form starts the whole application process for public service loan forgiveness. This form will allow your loans to be transferred from Navient or Sallie Mae, for example, to Fed Loan Servicing. And then once it's transferred, then they can actually start tracking and knowing if you are qualifying for public service loan forgiveness and how many payments have you made so far that actually qualify. So, how will you know if your paperwork's received to begin this process? Well, you should receive a letter if your form is complete and if your employment and loans qualify. They will also notify you if your loans and employer do not qualify as well in a letter, or if, say, your paperwork is incomplete. They will, in the letter, explain what is missing. So for me, they said something like, could not read phone number, need new signature. So they'll explain what is missing. If you have any questions, though, contact Fed Loan Servicing and they can help walk you through what went wrong with your paperwork. But basically, the employment certification form is a great way to make sure everything is on track and eligible for forgiveness. So please, please do this. No matter what setting you work, no matter what profession you are, fill out the certification form. Next is to follow up and ensure that your loans have been transferred to Fed Loan Servicing. So you want to make sure that you're following up because paperwork can get lost. You're using the mail. You're not using direct, uploading. So things can get lost and it can take a long time. It took, I believe, around 6 months for my loans to be transferred for Fed loan and for them to be tracked. So once you mail this form, it'll take about 1 month to process that paperwork and make you an account, and then about 6 months to track all your payments. So it won't be until about 6 months after that you'll see how many loans have been approved. But continue to call them and continue to make sure that they are processing your paperwork and that nothing has gone wrong. How will you know if your paperwork has been received? We talked about follow up. So, this is where you can follow up with Fed Loan Servicing. You can log in to myfedloan.org or you can contact them at this phone number here. You want to make sure that when everything has gone through that you see the right loan amount and that you see the right amount of months that you've been working as a qualified employee and how many payments have been tracked and that is tracked correctly. Next is you want to ensure that you have turned on auto payment and received further interest rate deductions. So, right after everything has been transferred to Fed Loan Servicing, put your payments on auto payment. This is for various reasons. One, it decreases your interest rate by 0.25%. Yes, that's not that much, but it does help. It also really eliminates the risk of non payment or late payments. Remember that if you have a late payment or non payment, even though you are working in public service loan forgiveness and everything else may count, if you don't make that payment, it's as if you never worked that month in public service loan forgiveness. So turning on auto payment will reduce all those risks and make sure that you are always paying on time in full and that you are then qualifying for that public service loan forgiveness payment. It also just reduces your organizational burden. It's one less thing to think about. I never really look at my Fed Loan Servicing account except for when I get an email from them saying, here's your bill, and then thank you for paying your bill. I don't have to do anything else, and that peace of mind is so nice. I do want to say here, watch your first payment though, because auto payment may not go through right away. And so that first payment, while you've chosen to make auto payments, it may not go through. So you can pay manually through their dashboard. This is actually what happened to me. I asked them, do I have to do anything else? Will my auto payment carry over from Navient? They said yes. And then a payment was missed because something happened with auto payment, and that was on their part, not on mine. But guess who paid for it? Me. So essentially that was 1 month of work under public service loan forgiveness that doesn't count. Ensure that email notifications are on as well. Make sure that FedLoan is programmed to email you when your payments are due, as well as when you've made a payment. That helps you track your payments, and it also gives you the peace of mind like that, okay, good, my payments have been made. Because you never know with technology these days, something can mess up. So you want to have that email system to be your backup to the auto payment. Next is you want to fill out that employment certification form that we've been talking about annually. Once again, you don't have to do this, but it helps you feel confident. It helps you update your tracked payments. It limits mistakes and denials of public service loan forgiveness because technically, when you fill out this form and Fed Loan Servicing has approved you, it's about the closest thing to getting satisfaction that after 120 payments, you will get public service loan forgiveness. In addition, filling out this form every year will make it quicker to get public service loan forgiveness because instead of them having to go back for 120 payments, they just have to look at your 10 years or however many employment certification forms, get those, they're already tracked payments, add them up, and then you should get approved. So it's so much faster and easier and less risky if you do this form annually. The sixth step is to then complete the income-driven repayment plan request, and I suggest that you fill that out annually. Every year, you need to resubmit this form, which demonstrates your financial need and demonstrates what plan that you are choosing. Make sure that your payments are properly tracked in the right plan because sometimes when you're submitting this form, they can switch plans on you, and that you're being billed correctly. You can download the income-based repayment plan request form at the link below here. Or if you have Navient or Sally Mae or other places like Fed Loan Servicing as well, in their dashboard, you'll be able to directly upload and fill out this paperwork as well. But this is simply a request that gives your name, that gives variety of different like things like address, phone number, social security, and then basically you check box what plan that you are choosing, whether it be repay, pay as you earn, etc. And from that, they calculate your payment. So that's why you have to submit that form. So that's pretty much it. So every year you have to submit the income-based repayment plan form, as well as I recommend the employer certification form. Now, if you've done that for every years and you've made 120 payments, the very last task you have to do is complete that employer certification form one last time. Now, here's a really, really big key to this is that you must still be working for a qualifying employer at the time you submit the application. So, don't go quitting your job once you've hit 120 payments. Make sure that you have officially been forgiven your whole loan amount. You will note that you will not have to pay federal income tax on this. So, just a fact for you to remember. This is the form right here that you can download, and you're going to fill that out and submit that. Now, once you have performed the 120 payments, it may take a little while for that employment certification form to be filled out and to be accepted and approved and for your loans to be officially forgiven. So don't worry. Any payments you make after the 120 payments will be returned as an overpayment once you are officially approved for public service loan forgiveness. So what I suggest is that after you fill out that employment certification form that is to prove that you have made 120 payments, you keep working and you keep paying. So basically everything stays the same. Do not do anything different until you see that zero balance in your loan account and until you get a letter or an email or something in your Fed Loan Servicing dashboard that says that you have been officially approved for public service loan forgiveness. Now, if you are denied, which can happen, here's what I recommend that you do is that you call Fed Loan Servicing to further understand the reason. If for some reason you think that there has been some grave mistake, something, and they are not willing to cooperate with you, not willing to help you remediate your situation, then you could also speak with an attorney to help sort out any other discrepancies. Because if you followed this, you should have all the paperwork and the peace of mind for public service loan forgiveness. And so if there's anything wrong, I would suggest that you try to fight it and advocate for yourself. Now, how long will it take for my balance to actually be forgiven and to see that zero number in my account? Processing times vary based on previous documentation. Like we said, if you have been filling out those employment certification forms every year, if you've had a lot of gaps in your employment and payments, that may make it trickier as well. And there may be a variety of other issues that can come up. If you have submitted that employment certification form, though, it's really likely that you'll be processed much more quickly and that you're likely to get an approval much easier and simpler. You'll be notified once the servicer has received all your documentation, and then you'll be notified again once your balance has been completely forgiven. Now, in the next lesson, I'm going to be showing you several different methods that you can use to pay off your student loans if you think that public service loan forgiveness may not be the right route for you. We'll be going over a deep dive of the various numbers, comparing public service loan forgiveness to paying off your debt as fast as possible and to seeking forgiveness after 20 or 25 years through various income-based repayment plans. So I will see you in the next lesson.